What's up, we the bros, and welcome back to the channel. If you guys haven't seen the last video where we picked up this 2008 TRX 450R, we're basically picking up where we left off minus a couple of details that weren't used. Just to give you a little bit of a backstory of what happened, we bought this machine for $22 off of Facebook Marketplace. We brought it home. We immediately sent it straight to Kyle. After Kyle took a look at it, we figured out what the problem was. It was the starter gear. The starter gear had seized, and because of that, it just wouldn't do anything it was supposed to do. So he took out the starter gear. He put some stuff to it he put like a socket set to it and just basically made the machine move just to see if there was anything else wrong components wise. And everything worked great, so that's perfect. None of the pistons was bent, and everything looked good. After that, he replaced everything inside of the clutch side where the starter gear and stuff goes. And after that, there was apparently a hairline fracture on one of the other cogs inside of that wheel, and it ended up blowing up. So he replaced that as well. And now, after all this stuff, did a valve refresh, replacement, whatever he did to it. Short story long, we have it here, and we're going to start replacing all of the bushings, the bearings, and bolts that need to be replaced, the 3 B's of any build project. And another problem that we ran into is the subframe, which is what Dad's working on back there. We had looked at it originally because Andrew and I had saw that every time you hit the brake, the entire subframe shifted towards the rear, which was, it looked like a huge problem. So we looked at it, and apparently some of the bolts inside the rear where the subframe is were a little bit smaller than they needed to be, or at least the place where everything was at, like the holes where all the bolts went, it was drilled too big. So that is a problem, and it wasn't the stock sizing. So if you look up on like Partzilla or stuff like that, where you see all the forms and all the parts listed there, it wasn't the OEM sizing. So that was something that we ran into a problem. So he's actually using a tap and die set to drill out the holes to be able to put the bolts that we found or we got for it to go back into it, because we're trying to make sure that everything is what is it, metric, not standard? Yeah, so we want to make sure it's millimeters instead of the fractions that you have to worry about. So basically what we're going to be doing today is we're going to take a look at all the stuff up here. It looks like most of the parts are new or relatively new, but like the tie rods here, the bushings, or not the bushings, pardon me, the boots are like gone. And we wanted to go ahead and, since the pivot bolt right there where the swing arm mounts up to the motor, that one's messed up. So just in preparation to, let's figure out how many of these bushings and bearings are wrong, we're going to be doing the entire front end first, and then moving our way towards the end of the bike as we go. And then from here moving forward, it would all be aftermarket stuff like exhaust, radiator, and then protective pieces, a good drop grab bar, and a good front bumper. So before we get into any of this though, I will go ahead and pray for today's video, and then we'll get right into it. So let's pray. Father God, thank you so much for the opportunity to allow us to work on all of this stuff. Thank you for blessing me with the ability to purchase all these parts to continue doing all this stuff for you and your glory. I pray that you'd watch over us and keep us safe as we continue working with these tools to be able to fix this bike to use for your glory as well. And continue to bless the channel and bless the people who are watching. In your holy and precious name I pray. Amen. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start figuring out all the stuff that we need to do. We'll go ahead and consolidate it, and we'll start dividing and conquering to get this machine to race ready condition, hopefully before February of next year for Big Buck GNCC. Before we get too far in the video, I did want to say a quick little thank you, not only to you guys for clicking on this video and watching it in the first place, but also for the people that helped me with the decision-making process for the parts for this video. Mr. Ian over at Square One Speed, as you may know, or if you don't know, he actually races a lot of his Hondas that he's built over the years. He just actually recently just concluded the Las Vegas 500, which is a huge XC race. With the knowledge that he has in the racing industry, I figured that he would be the best person to ask whenever it comes to the best bushings to get the job done. Another person that's helped me so far in this build is Mr. Jacob over at Brewer Off-Road. He was able to answer some of my miscellaneous questions that we're going to be using for future parts in the video. Both these guys were more than willing to take time out of their day to give me some suggestions about this build, and I definitely think that they have springboarded the decision-making process for me, which has allowed me to start working on this video a lot sooner than it should have been. So I wanted to say a big thank you to you guys, and hopefully if you guys enjoy this video and you have any suggestions, then please let me know. This is kind of a new opportunity for me, and hopefully with your help and your support and obviously your suggestions, we can make it happen. So thank you guys so much for your time, and I'll catch you guys at the end. All right, so right now these are all of the starting components I'm gonna start working with. These are the replacement tie rods. These are the replacement tie rod ends. This is a linkage rebuild kit from Pivot Works that people use, that they've used before, and it works really well. So I went with Pivot Works, and then Boss Bearing was the other one that I looked into. And then these are the lowers. We're gonna start with this. The uppers haven't gotten here yet, so I'll have to cross that bridge when I get there. But what you need to do for that is on both sides there is a Carter pin right here where the brake system is, along with the spindles. Once you remove that, there's a little bolt thing there that goes through for the Carter pin. There's the shock mount, and then obviously where the A-arms bolt up at, and that's on both sides. So I'm gonna be starting to do that first, and then all right, so here's a little bit of an update. So both the top and the bottom, we need a special tool that we can get in and pop those out without having to use a hammer to smack on it. So instead of doing that, I'm probably gonna take the front bumper off, try and get a little bit of pressure off of it, remove those 2 bolts, and then replace the bearings on the inside after swinging it out from there. Also, another update, the rear is now on. The silver portion from the rear on is the subframe. And we've got beefy bolts on both sides to be able to fix that problem completely. Do you know what size bolts you went back with? 12.150. So what would that be in millimeter?
12 millimeter. Bolt.
So it's a 12 millimeter, and that's by 150, and that's both for the top and the bottom, which isn't stock.
What the top was.
Which is what the top was.
And I went back and did the same thing at the bottom to fill in the hole gap.
Okay, so the rear, I don't know, it might be. Based off what I've seen online, it was a 10 millimeter, or like OEM, but you know, it's whatever. It's fixed for what we need it to be, and that's all that really matters. So that's good. Now it's sturdy, and hopefully whenever we put the brake system back on, it'll just use the brake, not cause any other problems or waller out the place where it connects, because that was the problem originally. Every time, see, the bolt brakes mount up like this, right? So whenever you hit the brakes, it would go down, and it would shift the subframe here towards the rear, which was a problem. So now it won't do that. All right, so stock bumpers off. Gonna hang on. I shouldn't have done that. God knows. I'm gonna hang on to this just as a replacement piece. Probably gonna end up going with a nicer front bumper, like maybe the one that I have on the Raptor. I like the aesthetic that it gives. But the top was a 15. I believe that's 15. Yeah, it's 15. It was a 15, and the bottom was a 10 millimeter. So I'm not certain if that's what it is for this machine as a whole, but it looks like, based off of how these were drilled into the front bumper, that these have a little bit of wiggle room. So I guess we'll have to see what's going on with that. Alright, so while he's taking a look at that, I'm going to go ahead and open this up. Pivot Works bearing kit, as you can see here. So we'll go ahead and open this up and go ahead and get into that. The outer seals are these. There's 4 for this side, and then there's 4 for the other side, so 8 altogether. Pretty nice. Comes with everything you need for that. It also comes with a bunch of outer seals. These are the, this is supposed to be what you use to keep the water or stuff like that out of the seals and bearings itself. Set these over here as well. There's rings on the inside. I'm not sure how these go in just yet, just because we haven't fully dissected the other one. It's coming out in pieces, so we'll have to explain that once we get to that point. This is the seals for the other side, rings for the other side, and then these right here are the bearings. They come in the package with some type of grease and stuff on the inside, which I really like. Me and Andrew were talking about that yesterday, where you need to basically, whenever you take engine components or bearings or stuff out, you need to make sure you have some form of grease or oil on it. And then this is a waterproof high-load bearing grease that comes from the company itself, and I believe there's one for each of them. So we're gonna try and use, I don't want to say all of it, but we're going to try our best to use enough of it to make sure we don't have any problems. And it comes with a caution warning to not put this in your eyes. So if you guys had planned on putting grease in your eyes, don't do that. That's a no-no from the company. Something about you might lose your eyes, so don't do that. Alright, here's a little bit of an update because we've done a little bit, well actually a lot of progress since the last time we recorded something. So we were taking a look at this to try and figure out how to deconstruct it and then re-put it back together. There's like 4 different components. There's the outer seals, which is the rusted bit right there. There's also the rubber seals, which is that right there. And then there's the ball joint in the center, and then there's a like a lock pin that's on the inside of it that we can't seem to get out for some reason. We've been trying for a little bit on the other side. I actually went back inside because I had to go print out a label. I bought the wrong battery by mistake. It was listed as a 450 TRX 450 ES, which I assumed was electric start, but turns out it's listed for a Foreman, and I didn't know that until I went into the reviews for it, because apparently someone else has done the same thing. So yeah, it is what it is, but I'm gonna be resending that battery back so I can get an actual 450 battery for this one. Anyway, short story long, we're gonna take the caliper off, remove the brake lines again, and all this stuff on this side, and then we're just going to take it to Kyle and see what he says, because if we can't get it out, and it was only the first one, then Lord knows how difficult this is going to be. So I'll tag you guys along for that, just so we can have a like a how-to for this video to replace the front, just in case there's some type of something we're missing. But before we do all this junk, I'm going to redo this side as well, or we'll do this side as well, and I'll put it on camera just so that way I can remember how to put it back on. But I have the caliper sitting on the frame right there on that side behind the radiator. So as soon as we do all this stuff, then we'll go ahead and do that. This brake caliper's been off before.
I mean, you have to take it off occasionally to replace the brakes.
Yeah, but that one took some force to break off. This one didn't at all. I didn't even put any force on it and they already came out. That's a little bit better there. So this is the first one here, and the second one is right there. Just as a, well, like I was saying earlier, point of reference for you. It's a little bit harder when you don't have someone to hold it for you. But hey, gotta make do, big dog, gotta make do. Hopefully that perspective, by the way, gives you an overview of what it looks like to be standing over the bike. It's a little bit hard to make this type of content personal with a tripod, but yeah. Sweet. I'll throw these back on here. Throw this back on there. Might not even be necessary, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it back on, just in case. Nice. Should just be able to slide these through. That's one. Come on. And that's two. Nice. Okay, so I'm gonna put these back in here. With this. Go. Put that back in there. And I'm gonna put that back in there. So just a little bit of an update while we start doing this. Basically the uppers and lowers, I'd purchased both of them off of Motorsport some time back to be able to go ahead and replace the top and the bottom for the Honda. And the upper hadn't gotten here yet, so instead of waiting on both to arrive here at the same time, we just decided to go ahead and take it apart. I don't remember what all we recorded last time, so I'm just trying to cover my bases. But basically, as of right now, the upper and lower are here, so we're gonna go ahead and start working on getting this stuff squared away. So Dad did a third of these already. The only one that's done is this one. I helped him do this one so I can make sure we covered our bases for the camera. But basically, I'm gonna go ahead and do this real quickly. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and stick the bearing in here, which essentially, now that I've greased both sides of it, should just be as simple as sliding it in until it stops.
So basically, what you got to do is you got to tap it in place. So it's a tight fit. It really is. All right, here you go. And it just goes all the way down to it sits on the other ring that he's got in his hand right there.
Yeah, they only send you one, so only remove one, and it should just be on the side that you're supposed to remove it from.
And there's no guarantee on which side it's going to come out, but it will come out. One will definitely move easy.
Eventually. Yeah, okay. And I would also recommend using something small to put this in all the way, and it should just lock into place.
Yeah, there's a little groove in there that these lock into place.
You'll feel it. You might not be able to see it on camera, and I'll try and, you know, see if.
But you got to make darn sure it's in there.
Yeah, because if not, it will come out. I don't know how well you're gonna be able to see that on camera, but if I can zoom in, I'll do that on the software just so that way we can.
Okay, it's in there. I just want to double check, make sure.
Now, you want to pack the inside completely with grease. Since these don't have the grease zerks like the Yamaha that we have, the Raptor, and I think Andrew's 450 doesn't have grease zerks either. But those don't have grease zerks at all. And then there's a boot that goes in it. Once you get the boot on both sides, you can stick the little metal covering back in.
Now, what I do is I get it started.
There you go. Just put that right
and
there.
then I just tap it. I keep it flat. And I'm sure it's not perfect, or that's not the correct way of doing it, but hey, you know what I mean?
I'm also sure.
All right, so it's flat on both sides, and all you got to do then is stick the
they can't see.
the bushings.
There you go.
The bushings in. And that is it. And there you are.
So, and that's pretty much how all of them go. The sides may be different depending upon which side you're going into, and then obviously the socket that we used was a 14. It may be different depending upon the A-arms that you have. These are the ones that came on the bike, and these were also the same bearing and bushings kit that came out of these A-arms. So yeah, I've pretty much learned that so far. Pretty much everything that we've replaced on this Honda so far, we're putting back with the same parts that were put on it in the first place, which could be good, could be bad. Well, I guess we'll figure that out once we get there. So now that we have both the upper and lower done for the left and right, we can actually go ahead and put this up, and then
get it back rolling.
We'll have it back to a roller, so that'll be good.
Yeah, we got a harness from the same company that we're getting the battery from. I've gotten a bunch of good reviews on it. The only problem that I've heard from it is the fact that the wiring is a little bit thinner than the OEM harness, which is true. But our biggest problem right now is that the connectors that were on here were either marred, messed up, or spliced into. So it's kind of pretty much the equivalent of putting a puzzle together, but instead of missing the pieces are singed because someone caught them on fire. And you're just trying to put the what you think is the piece that should go there. And that's pretty much where we're at with this sapsucker. All the stuff is here, but it's singed pieces, and we're trying to make them nice and pretty. So not a big problem, not a huge problem, but that is the full upper and lower bearings. The only bearings that we're not putting on camera, bushings and bearings we're putting on camera, is from the swing arm out, unless we can be there present for that, like if it's a same day video for Kyle. If it's not, then we won't be able to put it on camera, but that all depends on his schedule. We'll have to see if we can schedule it out, see if we can borrow him for labor. But hopefully you learned something from this video. Hopefully you maybe you're here to check out the parts, or maybe here just to check out the build itself. But regardless, I appreciate you clicking on the video in the first place. We're going to tighten all this stuff off camera, so that is the first official whatever we're doing for this build series for the Honda in the books. Pretty happy about that. Learned a lot. I ended up nicking myself really bad on this finger, and I healed, and I just did it again with an X-Acto blade at school. So hopefully I have all of my appendages by the time this stupid thing's done. But yeah, we're making some good progress. I predict that with all the parts that we're purchasing and how they're lining up, this technically should be running hopefully by the end of November. If I have all of the stuff planned out properly. We got the rest of the final components on the way, so that's good. But yeah, subscribe if you're new. Give us some tips or tricks if you have a Honda, because it's a dying breed. I need all the help I can get. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next couple of videos for this or anything else we do riding wise. Thank you for watching. Now we the coldest, I'm on 10 with my roadies. Shout out my homies, we gon' ball for them trophies. Like they can't hold me, thinking God, I've been chosen. Go through the motions all them times, I was hopeless. Now we the coldest. Look, I've been trying to tell y'all since like 1-3. Got my soul up in the trunk, get my God got the key. Spirit trying to talk.